What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel, and it's time to give you my 2023 SEC football post-spring rankings here for the upcoming 2023 college football season, and also following spring practices and, of course, following their spring games. A couple days ago, I gave you a post-spring top 25 video. You can go back and watch that video, and I concluded, some SEC teams that I think have a really good shot to have a pretty good season after their spring, game, and it was just based off of those, and it's also going to be based off on this video as well after their spring practices and, of course, their spring games. And the spring football season is now complete. We are now heading into the full off season, but, the spring videos are now going to end out with these conference rankings, so we'll do each and every single Power 5 conference, but we'll go through the SEC first. And also, I gave you, some tier rankings about a couple weeks ago, and there's going to be just based off of those as well. So let's get right into it here. We'll start from the bottom and work our way to the top. We'll go from 14 to 1 to the top team in the SEC. So let's just jump right into it here with number 14. And number 14 is going to be Vanderbilt. I still don't really believe this team is not really quite there to the SEC level just yet. And they made some progress last year. Yes, they went 5-7 last year, but they didn't make it to a bowl game. I think Vanderbilt is capable of, maybe having a pretty good season, but the question is, how talented are they going to be? That's the question every single year when Vanderbilt comes. And you can see the reason why it's so hard to, predict Vanderbilt's record each and every single year and also project their record. They always have a pretty tough schedule as well. So Vanderbilt, I think, is just not really ready just yet, but this is the spring football. Things could change for them perhaps if we do like a, power rankings here for the SEC in the later part of the offseason. But Vanderbilt, after their spring practice, I have to put them here at number 14. I think this team just still has a long way to go before they compete with the SEC. Number 13 is Mississippi State. I think this is a new era for this Mississippi State program. Of course, the passing of Mike Leach really hurts them. But, Mississippi State, I think, is going to still have, that talented offense. But I just don't think they're going to be right there at the top of the level of the West. I don't think they're a dark horse contender there yet. And also, I think this is still a team that can probably make it to a bowl game, but, it's going to be hard to tell of how good this Mississippi State team will be with a new era coming in, with a new head coach and everything. But Mississippi State, I think this team is, got potential to make it to a bowl game in 2023. It's just going to be hard to tell of how talented this team will be in 2023. That's number 13. Number 12 is going to be Auburn, kind of similar to Mississippi State. They're in a new era right now. They're kind of in a rebuild mode, but they do have Hugh Freeze coming in, a guy that has experience with the offensive game, and he's coming from Ole Miss. So he has some, experience down there when he was offensive coordinator for Ole Miss. But, yeah, Auburn was in big trouble last year. They lost Bo Nix in the transfer portal last season, and that kind of probably hurt them as well. And, Brian Harsin got fired. We can definitely tell he was not the right guy. I think Auburn's going to be a little bit talented this year. They could probably make it to a bowl game somehow in Hugh Freeze's first year. The question is, though, how many games will they win? That's the question. 5, 6, 7, games perhaps is the answer for me. I see this team potentially go with 6-6, maybe 5-7 perhaps. It could be their, mid-case scenario, and I think their best-case scenario would probably be 7-5. If they go 7-5 or 8-4 in 2023, that's a complete... that's a really good start to Hugh Freeze's coaching resume. So Auburn there at number 12. Like I said, with the same thing with Mississippi State, they're kind of in a rebuild year right now, so we'll see what it takes in 2023. Number 11 is Kentucky. Kentucky comes in here off a 7-6 record from last year. Don't get me wrong, Kentucky I don't think is a bad team this season. It's just, how good will they be after a really downfall season? Yes, they are going to lose Will Levis at quarterback, but they bring in Devin Leary coming in over from NC State. He does have experience with the college football game, and also he's a winning quarterback, so that's the reason why Kentucky is more talented than, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, and, of course, Auburn here on this, these rankings. But Kentucky didn't have a spring game, so it's really hard to tell what the team's going to look like. But I think, with the offensive line and everything, it really struggled last year. I think they're going to be better on that side of the football. The offensive line's going to be better. I think the defense is going to be a big concern, though, for Kentucky. They do lose quite a lot on that defensive side of the ball. But really, Kentucky should be a really still a really good team in 2023. When we did our projection for them, Kentucky was really, hard to project because they do have a pretty tough schedule this upcoming season because they do have to play Alabama out of the West, so that's a really tough one there. But Kentucky here at number 11. Number 10 is going to be Missouri, a team with a lot of production coming back in 2023. This is a team that I kind of be seeing as a dark horse contender in the SEC East. But, I don't think they're going to be quite there on the level of Georgia or Tennessee or any other team probably in the SEC West either. I think Missouri still has a long way to go before they can actually compete with the SEC again. Because if you look back at their early years in the 2010s, they were competing in the SEC. They made it to the SEC championship game one year, but it just hasn't been that same Missouri program that we saw from years ago and over a decade. So Missouri, though, they do have a lot of production coming back, and I could see this team definitely make it to a bowl game perhaps in 2023. They're number 10 here on this list. Number 9 is Florida. Florida's got a lot of question marks. It's going to be hard to tell how good they're going to be this upcoming season. Yes, they lose Anthony Richardson at quarterback, but they do lose a lot of talent from last year's team. People are saying that Billy Napier is probably not the right guy, perhaps. He was on my hot seat list, but, I don't think he's there quite just yet. It's going to take time for Florida to rebuild under him. And they went 6-7 last year, so yes, they made it to a bowl game last year, but it was really hard to see Florida going 6-6 a year ago in the regular season. They're kind of used to winning, 10 or 9 games in the regular season. And it just hasn't been the same Florida team that we saw, a decade ago when Will Muschamp was there, and, maybe Dan Mullen kind of was a really good head coach. But, Florida's got a lot of question marks. We don't know how good this team will be, but I think they're still talented enough more than, I think they still got more talent on both sides of the football than, Missouri and everything. So, Florida's now number 9 here in my post-spring rankings here for the SEC. Number 8 is going to be Arkansas. Arkansas, I think, will have a better year this upcoming season. They had a pretty tough year last year, going 7-6, 6-6 in the regular season. And the schedule is the reason why they had a pretty tough season. Let's be honest, they had a pretty tough schedule last season. I think this year they'll have a better season. They do have a lot of production coming back. The question is, though, how good would they be at the quarterback position as well? And I think the offensive line should be pretty strong for Arkansas. I think this is a team that's capable of, being a dark horse contender. But really, I don't think they're quite on the level as Georgia and also Alabama or LSU on that top list of SEC teams. But Arkansas is a team that, I think will be better this upcoming season. Like I said, they had a pretty tough year last year with the schedule, how it played out. So Arkansas here, I think, has a better chance to be a better team this upcoming season. Number 8 on there. And number 7 is Texas A&M. Texas A&M with a lot of production coming back. They have the most production coming back in the 2023 college football season. And yes, this team had a 5-7 year record last year. This was definitely not a good Texas A&M team. A lot of people had predicted this team to go to the college football playoff last year. I predicted them to win, 7 or 8 games last year. I did not see this team making it to the playoff or the SEC championship because they were going to be young last year. We don't know how good they were going to be. They don't have that experience, but they do have that experience now. Texas A&M is going to be a lot better this upcoming season. They could be even a dangerous team. You never know, but with spring practice and everything, it's really hard to tell how good they're going to be. But Texas A&M here is in the top 10, but number 7 here in this SEC post-spring rankings. Number 6 is going to be Ole Miss. Ole Miss coming in here at number 6. They do have a pretty tough schedule this year in 2023. I think they're just more talented than Texas A&M from a year ago, but Ole Miss is going to have that offense. They're going to have the talent on the offensive side of the ball. It just comes down to that defense. They can run the football really well this season. They ran the ball pretty well last year. They had a leading rusher, in the SEC from last season. So Ole Miss is definitely going to be really good at running the football. The passing game is going to be good as well. The defense really just concerns me for them. So Ole Miss here at number 6. Not just a lot of talked about, this Ole Miss team, but like I said, they do have a pretty tough schedule in 2023. They're number 6 here on my post-spring SEC rankings. Number 5 is going to be South Carolina. South Carolina, I think, will be a pretty good team this upcoming season. And, Shane Beamer's really turned this program around. He's got this team now heading in the right direction. Like I said, they're coming off 2 top 10 wins from last year in the last 2 games of the regular season. That kind of motivated me to put them here at number 5. Plus, you got your starting quarterback coming back with Spencer Rattler coming back from a year ago. So, he does have experience. And he probably could be a lot better than he was last year. Last year just wasn't probably his year. And I think he'll just be a lot better under that offensive system for South Carolina. And I think, South Carolina definitely deserves to be in the top 25 in the FBI. And also, in my post-spring top 25, I ranked them at number 21. So, and like I said, you can go back and watch those post-spring top 25 video if you want to. That was a couple days ago. But South Carolina here at number 5. Number 4 is Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, will be a really good team this year. They're going to have the offensive talent. They're going to have the hurry-up offense that can score some points. What really concerns me, though, for Tennessee is definitely the defense. Similar to Ole Miss's offense and defensive sides of the ball. Tennessee's defense is going to be a little bit of a concerning thing for me. But in the spring game, Tennessee's defense looked pretty good. It was a short-scoring game, but the offense really couldn't get anything going. But it was a spring game, so you never really know what the offense could look like heading into the year. But Joe Milton, I think, will be a really good quarterback this season. If he stays consistent, Tennessee's going to be a pretty dangerous team. They also got some other quarterbacks in that line for, a starting job, like the freshman Nico perhaps could take a starting job. You never know. But Tennessee, like I said, the one thing concerns me about them is the defense, but I think the offense will be really fine there on that side of the ball. They're number 4 here on this list. Number 3 is Alabama. Alabama had a pretty rough spring game. The quarterbacks, I should say, had a pretty rough spring game. And really, it's going to come down to that quarterback position now for this Alabama team. And that put them at number 6 in my post-spring top 25 poll. I just had to drop that team outside the top 5. And Alabama may not be a top 10 team this year. Maybe they'll be outside the top 10. You never know. But Alabama, it was a spring game, so they could be better by that time. But they do have, 2 quarterbacks, or I should say 3 quarterbacks battling for that starting job. Jalen Monroe right now is probably my prediction to, be the starting quarterback. But like I said, Alabama's quarterback position, it's definitely going to be a lot different this upcoming season. It's not going to be the Bryce Young Alabama. It's not going to be Tua Tagovailoa or A.J. McCarron or anything like that. So, and again, Alabama lost a lot of production, but they're going to have talent on both sides of the ball like they always do. But Alabama here at number 3, like I said, it's going to come down to that quarterback position for this team. Number 2 is going to be LSU. LSU, I think, from where they were from last year, making it to the SEC championship game, this team is going to have talent in, Brian Kelly's second year. Plus, you got Jaden Daniels coming back at quarterback, which is the huge return there. And yeah, LSU is going to be a pretty good team this year. There's no question about it. They do have to play Florida State, to begin the year, but that's obviously a revenge game, so you never know what can happen in that one. But LSU is a team that, I think will be really good this upcoming season. And after their spring game, I have to put them here ahead of Alabama. I'm not saying they're more talented than Alabama, but they're definitely right ahead of, actually against Alabama. So LSU here at number 2. But number 1 is going to be Georgia, obviously. Georgia, they're going to have a different quarterback this year. And it's kind of similar to Alabama. They're going to have to, it's going to come down to that quarterback position. But I think Georgia's got plenty of talent on both sides of the ball to be a really tremendous team. And this team is on the top of the SEC right now. If they have a really good year, like if they three-peat as a national champion, Georgia's definitely the top team in the SEC conference. And it's not Alabama anymore. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of question marks. If Alabama doesn't, have a good season, Georgia's probably going to be the top program. And, Georgia's quarterbacks looked pretty good in the spring game. I think there was no really big problem with them, and I think they were really consistent down the stretch there. So I think that's why Georgia belongs here in the number 1 rankings and also the number 1 in the post-spring top 25 poll. But those are my SEC post-spring rankings. Let me guys know what you think about these post-spring rankings. Who do you see that definitely deserves to be high on this list, or who do you see that definitely deserves to be low on this list? Maybe know down in the comments below. And again, we'll do every Power 5 conference here in these post-spring rankings. We'll go through the teams and give you all their rankings here for the post-spring rankings. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.